Is it time to buy East African property?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. The honor is all mine. I would say yes. This is a time when people should make value of their good money. And we are talking about the population of Kenya that is out there in the diaspora. Right now, we're talking about 2.5 million Kenyans out there who have one foot out there and the other foot back here. Now, one of the important things is because we have a new constitution in place, and the new constitution allows for dual citizenship. Most of the people out there now can have their passport, if it is the US, the UK, or even South Africa and Kenya, and be able to eat from two pots, as we may say.
Yeah, now that's interesting because we saw a similar example, if you like, in Zimbabwe, where the government there, while trying to raise cash from abroad, allowed Zimbabweans based abroad to come in and buy property in Zimbabwe and actually extended loans and that kind of thing. But the scheme has collapsed, in part because there was restrictions on nationality of those people. In other words, if you declared yourself Zimbabwean, you'd not be allowed to take up the citizenship of another country. But in Kenya, you're saying it's different. Are you beginning to see money flow more because of that move?
Yeah, in fact, what I could put it, let me just give you a good indication of some of the figures we are talking about. Over the last 5 months, we've had about 238 million US dollars remitted back to our home country. It's slightly less than last year over the first 5 months, because in the first 5 months, we're talking about 270 US dollars. And I think the previous year was 210 US dollars, just in the first 5 months of the year. Now, it's also important to break down that money, because 75% actually of that money are people who are sending money back to Kenya to support their families. Then we have 15% of that is going directly into real estate development. And then about 10% of that goes into supporting of communities within the region.
Yeah.
So we are making a lot, at least with that 15%. And we'd like to have a scenario where that money could actually be doubled. And we've been a bit fortunate that despite the global recession that was there earlier, I think also because people have been struggling a bit abroad, they're trying to look at having a home back in their own country. You know, they always say you can live in a house outside your country, but you truly have a home when you come back to your own country. So I think that's where some of the funds are coming in.
Absolutely, that resonates. But what kind of an impact have you seen that having on house prices in Kenya particularly, and perhaps you can talk about East Africa, and also on demand in general?
Now let's talk about East Africa. East Africa, we're talking about a population of 127 million people. As GDP, that is translating to about 18 billion US dollars. Now, when you talk about what this kind of impact has back home, I would say this. We're still struggling at home in terms of provision of housing, in the sense that the supply is outstripping the demand. So because of the issue of the demand being much higher than what is available, we're still having relatively high prices. The other problem we also have is that the availability of serviced land. When we talk about serviced land, we're talking about land with roads, water, sewer, and electricity. This has not been provided significantly by the governments that we do have here. And hence, there's an overpricing of the land, which translates into a high price of housing. And if you combine that with the undersupply of housing, then of course you still have your prices up there.
Yeah. So what kind of an outlook do you see for the property sector in East Africa?
The way I would look at it, and if I zeroed in on Kenya, because we do have the bigger market within the East Africa region for now, we've been talking about a situation where we are only providing 35,000 housing units per year against a demand of about 200,000 housing units per year. And this statistic is about 6 years old. So if you look at the shortfall that we're having, it means anybody who is putting their money in mortar and brick stands to gain. We've been proposing to the government strongly that if we came up with a system, look at Kenya. Kenya has a population of about 40 million people. And we've been saying that 10% can take care of themselves. If we drop that to 36 million people in households of 6, we're talking about 6 million houses.
Yeah.
If Kenya, if we could project 6 million houses over the next 20 years, then that's about 300,000 houses.
Absolutely.
So, yes, and that will be able to alleviate the problem.
Yeah.
A lot of those 35,000 houses we're producing right now, unfortunately, are taking care of the middle income and not too much for the lower income cadre.
I definitely get the message. There's money to be made and there's opportunity out to be had in East Africa. Steven Oundo, Chairman, Architectural Association of Kenya, thank you for joining us this evening.